since Jeffrey Epstein died in detention in New York City. It's very obvious he was killed. The more you look at the details, and we have, the more clear it is that somebody got inside the most secure federal lockup in our most populated city and murdered Jeffrey Epstein. But who? Well, the Department of Justice is in charge of finding out who, of course, and they say they have had an investigation for almost 4 years. So periodically we reach out to DOJ and ask, how's the Epstein investigation going? We called today again. They told us they'd complete and publish their report soon. We also thought it'd be worth reaching out to the NYPD. We wanted to know what was said in any 911 calls from the federal lockup in New York on the day that Epstein was found dead. NYPD has just turned over one of those calls to us, and it reveals the truth. Here it is. Oh, just kidding. We can't play that 911 call for you because it's been deleted. Really? Just like the videotape. Why? Because we are, quote, well past the 12-month retention period. So it looks like the NYPD deleted the recordings of 911 calls from the jail. So we thought, well, how about the FBI? We called over to the FBI to say, do you have any 911 recordings from the jail, from the federal lockup? And we got no response.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. Tucker Carlson is the only real journalist left in this country that works for like a multi-billion-dollar corporation like Fox. Thank God for Fox for employing Tucker Carlson. I mean, of all things, Tucker's my former boss, and it's so wonderful to see somebody who actually cares about honesty, integrity, and, I don't know, outing pedos inside of the zeitgeist. Jeffrey Epstein was a predator. Jeffrey Epstein was a known predator for decades. He was still able to bank. He was still able to fly around the world with presidents like Bill Clinton. He was able to have his own private islands, of course. You know all these things. He was able to have these creepy paintings of Bill Clinton in a blue dress in his home. Jeez, man. These people are just monsters. It's not the country you think it is. Tucker Carlson has been the only person that continues to look into why the greatest predator with the longest laundry list of clientele that includes members of the royal family, and of course presidents and billionaires like Bill Gates. Tucker Carlson's the only guy asking questions like, how'd he die exactly? How'd he die in prison by himself? How'd that possible? He's continuing to ask this question. Apparently the DOJ is still looking into it, but Tucker can't get a response, and further evidence is continuing to be deleted. And Tucker Carlson did a show. That's what this article is based on. This is essentially Tucker Carlson's opinion. This is Tucker Carlson's monologue about the quote-unquote apparent suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. And there's a part of this that I thought was particularly fascinating, just absolutely fascinating, where Tucker Carlson goes through the actual tick-tock of the murder. We know so little about the murder. Jeffrey Epstein hung himself from a bed that was this high. Really? With toilet paper? Mm-mm. Tucker Carlson goes into details of what we know about that night and asks a question, lays out an important question that nobody has really brought forward, which is how and who would have been able to get into Jeffrey Epstein's cell when he was murdered? Well, that's actually possibly the most important question in all of this, because then that really narrows down the individuals who could potentially be held accountable for this. So who did it? Watch.
No one came in or out of the tier, Barr said. Therefore, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. So let's consider that claim rationally. On the night of August 9th, Jeffrey Epstein was being held in the special housing unit of the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, the most secure part of the city's federal lockup. It would be physically impossible for a stranger to get in and out of this facility without an electronic pass and without being seen by the countless cameras in place between the street and the locked 9th floor of the building. So if Jeffrey Epstein was murdered, he was not murdered by an intruder, someone who came into the tier. He was murdered by someone on his own cell block, obviously. There were 7 other cells on Epstein's tier, and each one housed dangerous criminals. So if you were looking for a killer, you would figure out who was in those cells. But no one seems to have thought of that or done it. The Bureau of Prisons refused to provide us with a list of the inmates on Epstein's tier. It's not clear how many of them were even interviewed by investigators, despite the fact that some of them were transferred out of the facility shortly after Epstein's death. That's a baffling oversight. Instead, Attorney General Bill Barr simply assured the country that no one from outside came into Jeffrey Epstein's tier and declared the case solved. And if you think about it, that is a remarkable way to assess a potential crime scene, especially when you consider the source. Bill Barr was not a civilian or a crime novel aficionado. He was the chief law enforcement officer of the United States. He was the nation's top cop. His job was to solve crimes. And yet somehow, with all his law enforcement experience, it never seemed to dawn on Bill Barr that if there was a killer, the killer would have come from one of the cells on Epstein's tier. And then further, apparently, no one in the entire FBI suggested this to Bill Barr as they reviewed the case. Excuse me, Mr. Attorney General, it doesn't matter what the camera outside the tier shows. What matters is what happened inside the tier.
So I've never seen a breakdown of the prison like that. No one in the press has even attempted to give me a map of what the prison looks like. They could find, however, the Pentagon leaker in 10 seconds flat. You'll find out everything about that man. But we don't have the manifesto of the transgender terrorist shooter who killed 6 in Nashville a couple of weeks ago. It's going on a month now for that. And, of course, we've never had the layout of Jeffrey Epstein's cell. We've never even seen any photos from the murder scene. What happened? Well, medical professionals are now beginning to talk about it. One of them joined Tucker's show, the same show where Tucker was the first journalist or media person that even cared to outline how this could have happened, who could have been the people inside of that cell. And the medical professionals are saying the people who are paid to do this, the people who are paid to look at autopsies and determine how people died, how murdered individuals died. Those people are saying, yeah, man, this was clearly violent strangulation. This is not someone hanging themselves. This is a violent strangulation. So there was somebody kept in the block. There's a hitman that was kept inside of Jeffrey Epstein's block, apparently, that was let into his cell. Is that why the cameras weren't on?
Doctor, thanks so much for coming on. If you wouldn't mind just summarizing for us what we know, or what you know, about Epstein's death.
Well, I was present at the autopsy, and there were 3 fractures in the windpipe that are much more typical of crush injury from homicidal strangulation than from hanging. There were petechial hemorrhages in the eyes, again, more typical of homicide. And the ligature imprint on the neck didn't match the ligature that was present in the cell, made from a sheet. So I thought that made it more likely that this was a homicide than a suicide. But we never got to find out how the body was found. Was he found hanging or not, for example, because the two guards were sleeping through that time. He was dead for a few hours before he was found. And the 2 guards never made a statement that was released as to how the body was found. The body was just cut down and brought out to a hospital where he was pronounced dead.
It's unbelievable. Where are the congressional hearings on this? Dr. Bodden, I appreciate your honesty and your willingness to say that on this show. It's great to see you tonight. Thank you.
Good to see you.
As soon as you establish that your government can lie to you, and as soon as you establish that your government will gladly lie to you to protect themselves and to maybe harm you, and they just don't care, these kind of things become very, very simple. These kind of clips become very easy. And asking these questions becomes very, very important. Jeffrey Epstein clearly didn't kill himself. Common sense says otherwise. And common sense, Occam's razor, points directly to the people that could benefit very easily from Jeffrey Epstein just going away. And those people are the most evil in the country. Accountability, will they come? Will these people be held accountable? Unfortunately, sadly, I cannot tell you that with assurance in this life. But in the next life, they certainly will, because we have a just God. We also have a just show. On this show, we try and tell you the truth, or at least ask questions. It's your boy Benny, asking those questions, trying to save America. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya. Thank you for watching. Our channel is here to meme the libs until they cry, and then to meme them crying. Their tears, they taste just like sweet, delicious ice cream. Salty, too. We ridicule the establishment and the libs because of you. Your support keeps us going. So if you like what you saw, please punch the subscribe button, click like, and ring the little bell so that you know when we're live. Don't you want to know when we're live? And make sure that you subscribe to our email list, just in case the plug gets pulled, as tends to happen. If you want to see more of our videos, click here or here. My name is Benny Johnson. Stay free, base patriots.